Hello everyone, my name is Nick Verhoeven. I'm a business consultant at Axians, and today I'll be discussing process mining extension that we built here at Axians. Today with a healthcare use case, but mind you, it's a very generic extension. We could use it for supply chain, administrative processes and so forth. But for today, a healthcare use case to show the power of this extension. So some terminology out of the way. What is process mining to start with? Well, process mining is a technique that uses actual data to form a process based on event logs coming from systems. So what could this be looking at a hospital? You have a given hospital which uses a hospital information system. This records events, so think a diagnosis, given actions and a outcome. This gives you a sequence of events. These events can be found within the system, and a process model has been found which you can then analyze. What could you do with this model? Well, first you can discover what the actual model within your processes is. This is in many cases an unknown thing. Second, you can check conformance. Is this what we expected it would be? And a third, and I think most powerful possibility is here, you can enhance the model. You can find any irregularities that you could not expect beforehand and then improve the process to get a better outcome. Some more terminology to figure out what is process mining doing for healthcare. You have something that is called evidence-based medicine. It is an approach, simply put, that puts medical practice as close to scientifically proven practices as possible. What if we figured out altogether that is the best possible approach? And this is something we should always be doing. This gives me a next step, and that is clinical pathways, is how to use this evidence-based medicine and standardize it as much as possible in a given clinical pathway, which can then be a protocol that should be followed for a given diagnosis. I think you're already feeling what's going to happen next. I'm going to mix process mining and these clinical pathways, which should be giving you the following on the left, and then you would not need process mining. You have a very basic protocol. This is what we should be doing with a given diagnosis. However, this is not the truth in many cases, and we get something more towards what we're looking at the right. A very big model with lots of variation. Variation costs money and also maybe costing lives. So that's something we'd like to reduce. How do we do that with our extension? Our extension is a very simple version of process mining, just showing the data over time, a given diagnosis, in this case for healthcare, and what are the actions that have been taken and what is the outcome. But how many unique pathways does it have, and does it make any sense? So how does it work? First up, we choose a diagnosis, in this case cataract, which is a condition of stare, so we can figure out if somebody is going to have a loss of eyesight, yes or no. This should be treated in a given way. We filter so we have patients that are similar, because else it wouldn't make any sense. We figure out what is happening on multiple levels, so how many unique pathways are there, and do the caregivers know that these exist. We discuss them with the team, and we enhance the model accordingly in actions that should have been taken in the actual protocol. So looking at the application, in this case we have the diagnosis. We only have one diagnosis here and one unique pathway. But there are in total 243. In many cases, people do not know how many unique pathways there are. So we see the number of patients that take this step, so they have a diagnosis and immediately they have been misdiagnosed. So that's 164 in this case. But if we look at the top 50 unique pathways, or the top 10, we see there's lots of variation going on. So this is something you could discuss. You can drill down, figure out what's happening between those steps, and figure out why this is happening. So if I do a right click over here, I open it in a new tab, and then you can see what the total variation is within these two steps. So you can drill down from the point you are to figure out what's happening further. What you see here again, the thickness of the line is the number of patients coming through, and there's a few numbers there as well, showing you the average deviation and the standard deviation from the number of days it takes to go from one step to the other. So this way you can figure out what is actually happening within my process. So you can imagine with such a lot of misdiagnosis, we might want to add some lab research, and we can discuss this with the caregivers, what actually makes sense, and make them aware of what's happening. We could use a different diagnosis. You see a different kind of variation coming up over here. So it's dependent on the kind of diagnosis, how many variations you have, and what would make sense to change. I'm no medical professor, so I can't help you there, but I can figure out that changing the process model over here would really help reduce variation and so forth with costs. So I hope I've given you a small image of what the process mining extension from Axians could do for your business. In this case, we focus on healthcare, but we could focus on many more. However, if you're interested in figuring out more about how this extension works and how it could maybe work for your organization or healthcare organization, please do get in touch with my colleague popping up over here, which is Sam-Ray.atta, is an account manager for healthcare at Axians. You can reach him at sam-ray.atta@axians.com. Thank you.